I've never told anyone the complete truth about what happened to me in the bitter winter of my 42nd year. Not the authorities who found me staggering from the wilderness, more ghost than man. Not the therapist my sister begged me to see. Not even my own brother, when he asked why Elias Vance, the man who returned from those mountains, was so profoundly different from the one who went in. But I am telling you now because I need someone to understand. I need someone to know what truly transpired out there in the frozen heart of the Cascadian Peaks, in places so remote that even the most seasoned outdoorsmen rarely tread. I need to share what I learned about hatred, about obsession, and about a creature that showed me more grace than I ever deserved. This is a story about loss and revenge, about the lengths a person will go to when grief consumes them completely, and about the moment when everything I believed turned out to be wrong. It started 4 years before that terrible winter, on an autumn morning that began like any other hunting trip, but ended with sirens, search parties, and a chasm in my life nothing could fill. My cousin Leo Croft and I had been inseparable since childhood, raised in the same quiet town, tracking deer through the same forests, sharing a love for the wild that city dwellers never quite grasp. He was more than family. He was the person who understood me best, my confidant, the one who always had my back. Leo worked as a heavy-duty mechanic, his hands capable of fixing anything, his laugh a beacon of warmth. His knowledge of the backcountry was almost supernatural. He read animal signs like others read headlines, predicted weather by the wind's whisper, understood the rhythm of the wild with an instinct most spent decades trying to cultivate. That October, Leo was captivated by an old-timer's tale of a remote valley in the Cascadian Peaks teeming with elk. A 3-day hike through brutal terrain, the old man warned, but once there it was like stepping back in time. No trails, no people, just pure, untamed wilderness. Leo was electrified, spreading maps across my kitchen table, tracing routes, excitedly planning our best season yet. He wanted to scout it alone first, to map out approaches and find prime spots for blinds before the November season opened. I should have gone with him. I tell myself that every single day. But a work deadline, some project I can't even recall now, kept me tethered. I told Leo to go ahead, that I'd join for the actual hunt. He clapped me on the shoulder, promised photos that would make me regret not calling in sick. That was the last time I saw him alive. Leo was due back in 6 days. He carried enough supplies for 8, just in case. On day 7, I drove to the trailhead where he'd left his truck. It sat there, undisturbed, blanketed in pine needles. I knew instantly something was terribly wrong. Leo was meticulous. He wouldn't be late without word. I reported him missing to the rangers. A search party materialized within hours. Dozens of volunteers, dogs, helicopters, fanning out into the vast wilderness. I joined them, hiking until my legs screamed, calling his name until my voice was raw, refusing to rest. I couldn't rest. Not while Leo was out there, perhaps hurt, waiting. They found his campsite on the 4th day. I wasn't there. The rangers had insisted I stay back, fearing my exhaustion. I heard it secondhand, from a young deputy with sympathetic eyes. The campsite was utterly destroyed, his tent ripped to shreds, fabric hanging like grotesque streamers. His sleeping bag was torn, insulation scattered like dirty snow. His food cache had been raided, containers crushed. His pack lay 30 yards away, straps snapped as if pulled apart by immense force. But there was no body, no blood, no obvious sign of what had happened to Leo himself. What they did find, however, scattered around the ruined camp, were footprints. The deputy showed me photos on his phone, images seared into my memory. The prints were massive, far larger than any human foot. They measured just under 18 inches long and nearly 7 inches across, pressed deep into the soft earth, indicating tremendous weight. They showed a distinctly humanoid shape, 5 toes clearly visible, a pronounced arch, a heel digging deeper than the ball. These were not bear tracks. I knew the difference. Bears leave claw marks, a different pad pattern. These prints were something else entirely, something bipedal, something built like a person, but impossibly large. The official report concluded Leo had been attacked by a grizzly bear. The footprints were dismissed as distorted bear tracks, warped by rain and soil. They theorized the bear dragged his body away, and scavengers scattered the remains beyond recovery. Case closed. Death by misadventure. Another unfortunate victim of the wilderness he loved. They ceased searching after 2 weeks. Too dangerous, too vast, too remote. They offered condolences, grief counseling, and moved on. I could not move on. I knew those prints weren't from a bear. Any experienced woodsman would. I obtained copies of every photograph, called in favors from a friend in the sheriff's department who shared my doubts. I spent nights studying those images, measuring stride length, calculating the creature's possible weight. I researched everything about the area, unexplained disappearances, strange sightings, local tribal legends. What I found chilled me to the bone. For decades, reports from that region spoke of massive figures in the trees, strange howls, enormous footprints circling tents. Native tribes had ancient legends of giant hairy beings. Sasquatch, skunk ape, wood booger, all described the same thing, Bigfoot. I resisted the conclusion for months, telling myself grief was distorting my perception, that there had to be a rational explanation. But the evidence accumulated. Too many sightings, too many disappearances, too many matching stories. Something was out there. Something that had been there a very long time. And whatever it was, it had killed my cousin. The realization hardened into a cold purpose in my chest, a mission. If a Bigfoot killed Leo, I would find it, prove it existed, and then I would end it. I spent the next 3 years preparing. My life became a singular focus. Friends faded, family gatherings stopped. My apartment transformed into a command center, walls covered with maps, sighting reports, photos of those damning footprints. I devoured every book, from academic treatises to wild internet theories. I mastered tracking techniques, wilderness survival skills. I trained my body relentlessly. 20-mile hikes with heavy packs, target practice until I could hit a playing card at 200 yards, cold water immersion. I was preparing for war. My job as a crane operator became a means to an end, funding my quest. The best cold weather gear, a dangerous game rifle, infrared trail cameras, satellite comms, months of supplies. My family watched my transformation with growing alarm. My brother confronted me, asking if I was truly okay, expressing concern about my obsession. He urged me to seek professional help. I lied, telling him I just needed answers to move on, knowing he wouldn't understand. My girlfriend eventually left, saying my eyes had gone cold, that I was always somewhere else. I barely noticed, I was too focused. By the end of 3 years, I had narrowed down the most likely territory based on sighting patterns and resources. I identified an abandoned old forestry outpost deep in the Cascadian Peaks as my base. I had planned patrol routes, anticipated every variable. All that remained was to execute the plan. I hiked into the wilderness in early December, before the heaviest snows. After most visitors had left, the old outpost was derelict, abandoned for years, but its structure was sound. A few days of repairs, patching the roof, boarding windows, installing a wood stove, transformed it into a livable, defensible shelter. Next, my surveillance network, 6 motion-activated trail cameras, each covering a different approach, creating overlapping fields of view. I tested them thoroughly. Any movement within 50 yards would trigger an alert to my laptop. I settled into a grim routine. Days blurred. Wake before dawn, check cameras, collect firewood, maintain gear, cook, wait. The cold was brutal, nights plunging far below freezing. Snow accumulated steadily. The isolation was intense. Weeks without human contact, only the fire's crackle and the wind's whistle. I started talking to myself just to break the silence. I journaled constantly, documenting everything: weather, wildlife, camera activations. Between the mundane notes, I wrote about Leo, about his laugh, his stories, the way he made any situation manageable. I kept his photo in my pocket, pulling it out each morning, a constant reminder of my purpose. He deserved justice. The first 2 weeks passed uneventfully. Cameras captured deer, coyotes, a single black bear. Nothing unusual. Then things began to change. Small disturbances at first. A neatly stacked pile of firewood scattered overnight, logs rolled away. A deer carcass I'd hung to freeze was gone, but no drag marks in the snow, no tracks. The rope had been untied, not cut, the knots carefully worked loose. Then came the sounds, deep, resonant calls echoing through the valley, unlike any animal I knew. Wood striking wood in rhythmic patterns. 3 knocks, then silence, then 3 more closer. The knocking would circle the outpost for hours. Whenever I ventured out, rifle and flashlight ready, the sounds would cease. Whatever was making them knew when I was listening. I found other signs, enormous footprints in fresh snow, identical to those at Leo's campsite. They appeared overnight, circling the outpost just beyond my camera range. Something was mapping my surveillance, learning the blind spots, moving with precise evasion. Large handprints smeared across the frosted windows, as if something had pressed against the glass to look inside. Rocks stacked in strange, unnatural formations at the clearing's edge. Something was watching me, studying me, testing my reactions, noting my patterns. And it was smart enough to avoid my cameras. I started leaving food out, apples, jerky. The offerings vanished overnight, but still, the cameras captured nothing. This thing wasn't just accidentally avoiding detection, it was deliberately evading my surveillance while letting me know it was there. This realization terrified me. I had expected a wild animal, powerful but predictable. This was something else entirely, something intelligent, something that could adapt, outthink my systems, play psychological games while remaining invisible. I started sleeping with my rifle within arm's reach. Every creak, every whisper of wind made me bolt upright, heart pounding. The waiting became unbearable. I knew something was out there, felt its presence like a weight on my chest, but I couldn't see it, couldn't confront it. I could only wait. The confrontation came in the second week of January. The Weather Service had been tracking a historic blizzard, potentially the worst in decades. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 40 below with wind chill, snow measured in feet. I should have feared for my survival. Instead, I felt grim satisfaction. This storm would keep other humans out. The Bigfoot would have me all to itself, and I would be waiting. I spent the morning of January 14th securing everything outside. Hauled in firewood, tied down loose items, triple-checked windows and latches. By noon, the wind howled. By 2, visibility was mere feet. I was by the stove, feeding logs, and trying to keep the interior above freezing when my laptop chirped, a camera alert. I pulled up the feed, hands numb. The image was grainy, obscured by snow, but unmistakable. A dark, massive shape stood between 2 trees, 40 yards north. At least 8 feet tall, impossibly broad shoulders, a conical head, and it was looking directly at the camera. I stared, hardly breathing. This was it. 3 years of preparation, months of waiting, finally proof. Bigfoot was real. It was outside, and it knew I was watching. Another alert. Camera 3, east side. The creature had moved. It was circling, testing my defenses. This image was clearer. Dark fur matted with snow, arms reaching its knees, eyes reflecting the flash with an animal gleam, but holding something disturbingly intelligent. More alerts came rapidly. Camera 2, Camera 5, Camera 6. It moved fast, covering ground in seconds. Each photo showed it closer, more visible, more real. I could see the fur's texture, the hands, the cloud of breath. I grabbed my rifle, checked the full magazine, spare ammo in my pockets. pulled on my heavy layers. My hands trembled, not from fear, but anticipation. 3 years of rage finding its target. I touched Leo's photo. "For you, Leo." Then I opened the door and stepped into the storm. The cold hit me like a physical blow. Wind slammed into me, nearly knocking me down. Snow drove horizontally, stinging my skin. I couldn't see more than a few feet. White chaos. Suicide. But I didn't care. The creature that killed Leo was out here. I would find it. I pushed toward the first camera's location, counting steps, navigating by instinct. Snow was knee-deep, every step a struggle. My legs burned, lungs ached from breathing ice. The camera was destroyed. The bracket bent, screws sheared. The camera lay in pieces, housing cracked, lens shattered. Deep scratches marked the tree trunk, 4 parallel gouges, claws or thick fingers. The Bigfoot had seen the flash, known what the camera meant, and torn it apart with bare hands, in a blizzard that left me barely able to stand. I checked the other cameras, same story, each systematically destroyed, ripped from trees, smashed. The Bigfoot had made a complete circuit, eliminating my network in less than 20 minutes, during the worst blizzard in decades. This thing was tactical. It had waited for the perfect moment when weather would keep me inside and pursuit was dangerous. Then it struck with military precision, blinding me while I was blind. After an hour, I admitted defeat. My hands were failing, feet numb. Ice crusted my beard. Any longer, I'd die. I turned back, following my tracks before they vanished. The wind pushed me, but I could barely walk. My muscles were rubber. I fell multiple times, lying in the snow, struggling to rise. When the outpost finally appeared through the white, relief flooded me. Almost there, then I saw it. My relief turned to ice colder than the storm. The door hung off its hinges. Windows I'd boarded were smashed inward. Through the broken doorway, I saw my supplies scattered, gear torn apart, and I heard something moving inside, heavy footsteps, the crash of furniture, a low, guttural sound, breathing or growling. The Bigfoot was inside my outpost, destroying everything while I chased shadows. I raised my rifle, hands so numb I barely felt the trigger. The weapon was impossibly heavy, metal burning through my gloves. I'd dreamed of this moment for 3 years, confrontation, reckoning, but I didn't advance. Something held me back. Not fear, exactly, a recognition. I was no longer the hunter. The roles had reversed. The Bigfoot had led me away, sapped my strength, then circled back and destroyed my shelter. I was alone in a blizzard, no supplies, no protection, my body heat rapidly failing. I had been outmaneuvered completely. The shadow inside moved to the doorway. Then the Bigfoot emerged. I saw it clearly, massive, at least 8 feet tall, broad shoulders filling the frame, dark brown fur matted with snow, arms past its knees, hands with fingers thick as my wrists, face framed by fur, flat nose, heavy brow, eyes gleaming, those eyes locked on mine. Neither of us moved. The wind howled. We stood like gunslingers. My rifle was raised, sights on its chest. My finger found the trigger. I should have shot. 3 years of obsession distilled into a single pull. My finger tightened, but something stopped me. Maybe its curious gaze, maybe hypothermia, maybe an instinct I couldn't name. Before I could decide, it moved. Not an attack. It stepped forward, circling me with impossible grace. I tried to track it, but my movements were sluggish. The cold had stolen my speed. I heard sounds behind me, more movement, more footsteps, not just one, but others. I was surrounded. Panic took over. I spun, firing wildly. The rifle cracked, deafening. I didn't know if I hit anything. I fired again, emptying the magazine. Numb fingers fumbled for the spare, dropped it in the snow. Precious seconds. Then something hit me from behind, hard. The impact drove the air from my lungs. I flew backward, tumbling until my head struck something solid. Light, pain, then darkness. Consciousness returned slowly. First, pain. My shoulder screamed, a deep wrongness. Ribs throbbed, head pounded, then the cold, shivering uncontrollably. But less cold than I should have been, out of the wind, sheltered. I opened my eyes. I was in a cave. Rough stone walls, low ceiling, dim light. The air smelled of earth and something musky, animal. And a Bigfoot crouched less than 3 feet from my face. Up close, it was even more massive. Enormous head, heavy brow, deep-set dark eyes fixed on mine. My mind struggled, injured, disoriented, face to face with my quarry. It could kill me instantly. Why was I alive? The fear I expected was absent. Shock, hypothermia maybe. What I felt was rage, pure, undiluted. This thing killed Leo. The thought screamed. It destroyed my friend, my life, and now sat watching me like a curiosity. I tried to punch it. My good arm swung. Agony shot through my shoulder, but I didn't care. I wanted to hurt it. The Bigfoot barely moved. One massive hand deflected my fist, pushing my arm aside with casual ease. Then it shoved me back down. Pain cascaded through my ribs. I collapsed, gasping. Tears streamed down my face from pain, frustration, 3 years of grief with no outlet. I screamed curses, accusations. The Bigfoot sat there unmoved. It did not react, just watched with dark, patient eyes. Finally, exhausted, I stopped. Throat raw, body shaking. Nothing left. With my good hand, I reached into my pocket. The photo was still there. I pulled it out, held it up to its face. "This is who you killed," I whispered, hoarse. "My cousin, my best friend. You took him, you monster." The Bigfoot looked at the photo. Its eyes moved from my face to the image and back. Something shifted in its expression, though I couldn't say what. It reached out, took the photo with surprising care, studied it. Then it made a low, deep sound, almost mournful. It looked at me again, looked at the photo, and then it nodded. A deliberate, unmistakable gesture of recognition. It knew. Somehow, impossibly, this creature knew who I was talking about. The Bigfoot handed the photo back, then stood. It gestured toward the entrance, then back at me. "Follow." I didn't understand. If it killed Leo, why lead me? To finish me off, some torture, but what choice did I have? Injured, lost, at its mercy. If it wanted me dead, I'd be dead. I struggled up, cradling my arm. The Bigfoot waited, then turned and walked toward the entrance. I followed. Outside, the storm had passed. The world was buried under fresh snow, pristine, blindingly bright. The sun was low. I had no idea how long I'd been unconscious. The air was brutally cold, but bearable without the wind. My breath plumed. My feet broke through the snow crust. I was weak, hurting, but I kept moving. The Bigfoot was ahead, long strides carrying it smoothly. We walked for perhaps 20 minutes. It led me through old-growth forest, branches heavy with snow. It never looked back, assuming I'd keep up, pausing only when I fell too far behind. I studied its movement, fully bipedal, a rolling gait of immense strength, arms swinging naturally, sometimes reaching for a tree. Its head constantly scanned. Its feet left prints identical to those at Leo's campsite, the tracks that had consumed my thoughts for 3 years. Now I was following the thing that made them willingly, a creature I had sworn to kill. The irony was not lost on me. We emerged into a small clearing surrounded by ancient pines. The Bigfoot stopped, pointed at something on the ground. Its posture had become solemn. This was important. I pushed through the snow to where it pointed. There was a cairn, a carefully constructed pile of stones. Around it, half buried in fresh snow, were objects. A camping mug Leo had used on every trip, a strip of tent fabric, his distinctive green, a single hiking boot, size 11, his brand. Dead wildflowers were scattered around the base, placed with care. I collapsed to my knees. I knew what this was, knew it in my gut before my brain processed it. This was a grave, Leo's grave. The creature had brought me to the place where my cousin was buried. Tears blurred my vision as I touched the cold stones. 3 years of not knowing, of his family having no closure, no resting place. And here he was. Here he had been all along, properly buried, marked, honored. The Bigfoot made a sound, drawing my attention. It was pointing again, this time toward the edge of the clearing. I stumbled over, wiping tears. There, arranged in a deliberate circle on a flat stone, were claws. Massive, curved, yellowed with age, wickedly sharp. 4 of them, each as long as my hand, grisly claws, bigger than any I'd ever seen from a monstrous animal. Understanding crashed through me like an avalanche. The official report had been partially right. Leo had been killed by a bear, not a Bigfoot. A massive grizzly had attacked him, destroyed his camp, taken his life. The enormous footprints around the scene were not from the killer. They were from something that came after. The Bigfoot had found him, found his body after the bear was finished. And instead of leaving him for scavengers, it had done something extraordinary. It had fought the bear, driven it off or killed it, and then it had buried Leo, built this cairn, placed his belongings like offerings, marked the grave with the bear's claws as proof of what had happened. This creature had shown more humanity than I had. I had spent 3 years consumed by hatred, by rage, by an obsession with revenge that poisoned every aspect of my life. I had abandoned relationships, sacrificed my career, pushed away everyone who cared about me, in pursuit of a monster that existed only in my imagination. The real monster was me. I sat in the snow for a long time, crying as I hadn't since childhood, not just for Leo, but for myself, for the person I had become, for the years wasted hunting an innocent creature while the truth was here all along. When I finally looked up, the Bigfoot was gone, vanished into the forest without a sound, leaving me alone with the grave and the weight of my mistakes. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for shadows to lengthen, for night's dangerous cold to descend. Survival instinct kicked in. I was injured, lost, at serious risk of dying. I memorized everything about the clearing, took a small stone from the cairn, put it in my pocket with Leo's photo. Then I forced myself to stand and start walking. The hike out took almost 3 days. My injuries made everything harder. The dislocated shoulder screamed. Cracked ribs made breathing agonizing. No food, no proper shelter. But I made it. By following drainage, navigating toward lower elevations, forcing myself to move. I stumbled onto a hiking path on the 3rd morning and followed it to a parking area where early season snowshoers had gathered. The people who found me thought I was a ghost. A frozen specter emerging from the wilderness. They wrapped me in blankets, called for help. A helicopter arrived within the hour. I spent a week recovering. Frostbite, a set shoulder, wrapped ribs, monitoring for hypothermia. Doctors asked how I survived. I told them I got lost in the storm and found shelter in a cave. The full truth was too complicated. When spring came and the snow melted, I returned to the mountains with a GPS. It took 4 days to locate the clearing, but I found it. The cairn was as I remembered. I contacted Leo's family, told them I'd stumbled across what looked like human remains, led authorities to the site. They recovered enough for a positive identification through dental records. Leo's family finally got closure. They buried him in a cemetery near where we grew up, the headstone carved with mountains. I was at the funeral. His mother thanked me, saying finding him was the greatest gift. I wanted to tell her the truth, that a creature she'd never believe in led me there. But the words wouldn't come. Some truths are too strange to share. I kept the photos from my trail cameras, the images the Bigfoot had inadvertently created before destroying the equipment. They show a massive figure in the snow, unmistakably real, unmistakably not human. I look at them sometimes late at night. Proof I didn't imagine what happened, but I have never shown them to anyone, never posted them online. The Bigfoot earned its privacy when it buried my cousin, when it saved my life, when it showed me a truth I had been too blind to see. I don't go into those mountains anymore. The Elias Vance who emerged from the wilderness that winter is not the same one who went in. The obsession evaporated, replaced by something quieter, something like peace. I think about the Bigfoot sometimes. Wonder if it remembers me, the angry man who tried to kill it. Wonder if it understands I finally know the truth. The hatred I carried for so long is gone. In its place, gratitude. The Bigfoot could have left me to die, could have finished me off. Instead, it carried me to shelter, watched over me, and showed me where Leo was buried. It gave me answers when everyone else had given up. It gave me closure, and it gave me something more valuable, the chance to understand my own mistakes. I was wrong about everything. The Bigfoot did not kill Leo. A bear killed him. A tragic accident, and a creature I thought was a monster turned out to be the only one who honored his memory. What does that say about me? About the stories we tell ourselves? I spent 3 years hunting an innocent creature, devoted my life to revenge against something that deserved thanks. I became the kind of person who would kill a thinking, feeling being out of hatred, and the being I tried to kill saved my life anyway. The stone I took from Leo's cairn sits on my bedside table now, a reminder of what hatred can do, a reminder that the monsters we fear are not always the real danger. Sometimes the real danger is the story we convince ourselves is true. My relationship with my family has healed. My brother noticed the change, the softening. He doesn't know the details. I told him I had an experience that gave me perspective. That was enough. I am dating someone new, a woman who lost her father to an avalanche. We understand each other. I haven't told her about the Bigfoot. Maybe someday. For now, it stays private. Between me and the creature, between me and the mountains, between me and Leo's spirit. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Some creatures deserve to remain hidden. The Bigfoot earned that right when it buried Leo with more care than any human had shown. It earned that right when it spared the life of a man who tried to take its own. If you ever find yourself in the deep wilderness, remember, you are not alone. There are things science cannot explain, creatures that have lived since before we arrived. They are not monsters. They are trying to survive. If you see one, leave it alone. Don't try to prove its existence. Just let it be. That is what I wish I had done. That is the lesson I learned at the cost of 3 years of my life, and nearly my life itself. The Bigfoot is still out there somewhere, still living in forests too deep for most humans, still watching, still protecting its territory. And somewhere in those forests is a cairn, a careful pile of stones marking where a man who loved the wilderness is buried. A grave tended not by human hands, but by something older, wilder, something that understood the weight of death. That is where Leo rests, in a place more beautiful than any cemetery, protected by a creature that should not exist but does, honored in death by something I tried to destroy. I visit him sometimes in my dreams. The clearing is bright, the cairn maintained. Sometimes Leo is there, smiling. He doesn't speak. His presence is enough. I wake feeling peaceful. Leo is at rest. His family has closure. And I have the truth. That is all any of us can ask for. This is my story. Believe it or not. Judge me or don't. But know that every word is true. The hatred I carried is gone, replaced by acceptance, by peace. The Bigfoot taught me that. An impossible creature showed me more about being human than most actual humans ever have. I will carry that lesson for the rest of my life, along with the stone from Leo's grave, along with the memory of what I almost became, along with the gratitude for a second chance to be something better. Stay safe out there. Respect the wilderness. And if you ever encounter something you cannot explain, something massive and dark watching from the tree line, do not reach for your weapon, just nod. Acknowledge that you see it and walk away. Some things are worth more than proof. Some creatures deserve to be left alone. I learned that lesson the hard way. I hope you never have to. The forests are full of mysteries, full of truths that exist whether we believe in them or not. The Bigfoot is one of those truths, and my cousin's grave, tended by non-human hands, is another. I have made my peace with both. Now it is time to make peace with myself. That is the work that remains, the slow, difficult process of forgiving myself for what I became in those years of obsession. The Bigfoot saved my life in the mountains, but the real salvation came later, in the quiet moments after I returned to the human world, in the gradual realization that I could choose to be different. The future did not have to be defined by the past. I am still learning, but I am getting there. Because of a creature that should not exist, because of a grave in the wilderness, because somewhere in those mountains, something I tried to kill decided I deserved another chance. I don't know why it spared me. Maybe it understood grief and rage. Maybe it recognized the photo. Or maybe it simply refused to become the thing I accused it of being. Whatever the reason, I am grateful. Grateful for my life. Grateful for the truth. Grateful for the chance to tell this story, even if most think I'm crazy, because the story is not really about Bigfoot at all. It is about what hatred does to a person, how it consumes everything good and leaves only darkness. I was that person. The Bigfoot could have killed me for it. Instead, it showed me who I had become. That is a gift beyond measuring, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of it. So this is my advice, earned through suffering and granted through grace. Do not let hatred define you. Do not let grief become obsession. Do not spend your precious years hunting monsters that exist only in your imagination. The real monsters are within us. The stories we tell ourselves. I was the monster in this story, not the Bigfoot. And recognizing that truth was the beginning of my healing. I do not know how my story will end, but I know this much: I am trying. Every day I am trying to be better than I was. That is all any of us can do. The Bigfoot showed me the grave of someone I loved, showed me claws from the bear that really killed him, showed me that the creature I had been hunting was not my enemy, had in fact done more to honor my cousin's memory than I ever had. That is a truth I cannot escape. A truth I do not want to escape. Because it changed me, because it saved me, because somewhere in the heart of those mountains, in a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, my cousin rests in peace, protected by something impossible, honored by something wild, buried by hands that are not human, but that understood in their own way the weight of what they were doing. The mountain air is different now, cleaner, lighter, as if the poison I carried has been purged. I hike in lower elevations now. I do not venture into the deep wilderness anymore. That territory belongs to other things. Sometimes, when the wind is right, I imagine I can hear wood knocking against wood in the distance. I do not try to find the source. I just listen, and I remember, and I keep walking, because the Bigfoot gave me my life back, gave me the truth, gave me closure and peace and the chance to become something better. The least I can do is leave it alone. The least I can do is carry its secret with respect. The least I can do is tell this story honestly and completely and hope someone learns from my mistakes. That is my gift in return, the only gift I have to give, the truth of what happened, the truth of what I almost became, the truth of the mercy that saved me. Make of it what you will, but know that it is real. Every word of it, as real as the stone on my bedside table, as real as the photo in my pocket, as real as the creature that watches from the darkness of the deep forests, ancient and patient and more compassionate than I ever knew. The Bigfoot is out there, and somewhere in the mountains, my cousin rests in a grave built by hands that are not human. That is the truth I carry now. That is the story I will tell until the day I die. And when that day comes, I hope to face it with even a fraction of the grace that was shown to me by something impossible, by something wild, by something that understood mercy better than I ever did. The end of my story is not really an end at all. It is a beginning, the start of a different kind of life, one built on truth rather than hatred, on acceptance rather than obsession. I do not know where that life will lead, but I know that I am grateful for the chance to find out, grateful for every breath, grateful for every step, grateful for the creature that could have killed me, but chose instead to show me who I really was. That is the lesson of the Bigfoot. That is the gift of the mountains. That is the truth that will stay with me forever. Some creatures deserve to remain hidden. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. And some mistakes, no matter how terrible, can be forgiven, even by the things we try to destroy, even by ourselves. The wilderness does not judge. It simply is, and sometimes in its depths, there are creatures that remind us what it means to be more than our worst impulses, creatures that bury the dead with care, creatures that spare the lives of their enemies, creatures that exist in the spaces between what we know and what we fear. The Bigfoot is one of those creatures, and I am grateful beyond words that it crossed my path, because I was lost in more ways than one when I went into those mountains. And what came out was someone who finally knew the way home. I still dream about that clearing sometimes, about the cairn of stones and the dead flowers and the claws of the bear arranged like a testament, about Leo's spirit, resting peacefully in a place more beautiful than any cemetery. In those dreams, I am always alone. The Bigfoot is never there, though I can feel its presence somewhere beyond the tree line. Watching, remembering, perhaps forgiving. I wake from those dreams with tears on my face and the stone from the cairn clutched in my hand. And I know, with a certainty that nothing can shake, that everything happened exactly the way I have told you. The hatred, the hunt, the storm, the cave, the grave, all of it, as real as the scars I still carry from that night, as real as the memories that will never fade, as real as the impossible creature that chose mercy when violence would have been easier. This is my story. Now it is yours too. Do with it what you will. I have told you everything. The rest is up to you. But if you ever find yourself in the deep forests, remember what I learned. Remember that you are not alone. Remember that the things you fear might not be the things you should fear. Remember that sometimes the greatest danger is the story you tell yourself about what is waiting in the darkness. And remember that even monsters, the kind you hunt with rifles and hatred, can turn out to be something else entirely, something better than you expected, something kinder than you deserved, something that will show you the truth if you are willing to see it. I was not willing for a long time, but I am willing now. And that has made all the difference. The Bigfoot is real. My cousin's grave is real. The mercy that saved me is real. And so is the chance for a different kind of life, one built on understanding rather than hatred. I am taking that chance. Every day, I am taking it, because the Bigfoot gave it to me, and I will not waste it again. Not this time, not ever again. This is my promise to the creature that spared me, to my cousin who rests in peace, to myself, the person I am still becoming. I will be better, I will be kinder, I will honor the gift I was given. That is all I can offer in return, the commitment to be better than we were, the willingness to see the truth, even when it hurts, the courage to let go of the stories that keep us trapped in darkness. The Bigfoot taught me these things. A creature that should not exist taught me what it means to be human. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to live up to that lesson, starting now, starting here, starting with the simple act of telling the truth about what happened in those mountains. Because the truth, as painful as it was, set me free. And freedom, I have learned, is worth any price. even the price of admitting that I was wrong about everything, even the price of facing who I really was, even the price of accepting mercy from something I tried to kill. The Bigfoot gave me that freedom. Now I am giving it to you. The rest is up to you to decide what to do with it. I hope you choose wisely. I hope you choose better than I did. I hope you never have to learn these lessons the way I learned them. But if you do find yourself lost in the darkness of hatred and grief, remember this story. Remember that there is a way back. Remember that mercy exists, even in the most unlikely places. Remember that the creatures you fear might turn out to be the ones who save you. And remember that it is never too late to become something better than you were. The Bigfoot taught me that. Now I am teaching you. That is how wisdom passes. Through stories, through truth, through the courage to speak about the things we would rather forget. I have spoken. The truth is out there now. Make of it what you will, but know that somewhere in the deep wilderness there is a creature watching, waiting, remembering, and perhaps hoping that the human who came into its territory with hatred has finally found peace. I have. I finally have. And that peace, hard-won and barely deserved, is the greatest gift I have ever received, from something impossible, from something wild, from something that understood mercy better than I ever did. The Bigfoot saved my life. The Bigfoot showed me the truth. The Bigfoot gave me the chance to become something better, and I will be grateful for that every single day for the rest of my time on this earth. That is my story. That is my truth. That is what happened to me in the mountains. Now you know, and knowing, I hope, will help you in some way. The way it helped me, the way it saved me, the way it brought me home to myself, to my family, to the world I had abandoned in my obsession. Home, finally, after all those years. Home. The forests hold many secrets. The Bigfoot is one of those secrets, a living mystery, a creature that deserves to be left alone. I made the mistake of hunting it once. I will never make that mistake again. And I hope, whoever you are, that you will learn from my story. Learn that hatred destroys the hater more than the hated. Learn that the monsters we fear are often of our own creation. Learn that mercy can come from the most unexpected places. And learn that it is possible, even after years of darkness, to find your way back to the light. The Bigfoot showed me the way. Now I am showing you. That is the purpose of this story, so that someone, somewhere, might hear these words and recognize themselves in them, might see the hatred they carry reflected in my obsession, might realize that there is another way, a better way, a way that leads toward healing instead of destruction. If that person is you, then this story was worth telling. If not, perhaps you know someone who needs to hear it. Share it. Tell them about the man who hunted a Bigfoot for revenge and learned he was wrong about everything. Tell them about the grave in the wilderness, tended by non-human hands. Tell them about the mercy that saved a life that should have been lost. And tell them that it is never too late. Never too late to let go of hatred. Never too late to see the truth. Never too late to become the person you were always meant to be. That is the lesson of the Bigfoot. That is the gift of the mountains. That is the truth I carry in my heart, now and forever. The creature is still out there. The grave is still there. The mystery continues. And somewhere, something ancient and wise and impossible remembers a man who came with hatred and left with peace. I hope it knows I am grateful. I hope it knows I understand now. I hope it knows that the story I am telling is told with respect and honesty and a full awareness of what I almost did. The Bigfoot deserves that much. It deserves everything I can give, because it gave me everything when I deserved nothing, and that is a debt I can never fully repay. But I will try. Every day I will try, starting with this story, starting with the truth, starting with the simple act of admitting that I was wrong. The Bigfoot did not kill my cousin. The Bigfoot saved my life. The Bigfoot showed me where Leo was buried and gave his family the closure they needed. The Bigfoot is not a monster. I was the monster, and recognizing that truth was the beginning of my salvation. So thank you, creature of the wilderness. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for showing me the truth even when I did not want to see it. I will honor your gift. I will tell your story. I will make sure that someone, somewhere, knows what really happened in those mountains, and I will never hunt you again. That is my promise, the only promise that matters, made to something that will never hear it, but made with a full heart nonetheless. The Bigfoot is out there. The grave is out there. The truth is out there. And now you know. The rest is up to you. May you walk in peace. May you find your own truth. May you learn from my mistakes without having to make them yourself. And may you always remember that the wilderness is full of wonders. Some terrifying, some beautiful, some that will change everything you thought you knew. I found one of those wonders, and it saved my life. The least I can do is share its story with you, with anyone who will listen, with the world that does not believe, because belief does not matter. The creature exists whether we believe in it or not, just like mercy exists, just like truth exists, just like the chance for redemption exists. For anyone brave enough to take it, I took it, and it made all the difference. That is my story, the full story, nothing held back, nothing hidden, the complete truth of what happened to me and what I learned from it. I hope it helps you. I hope it matters. I hope that somewhere, somehow, these words will reach the person who needs to hear them. Because that person was me once, lost in hatred, consumed by obsession, hunting something that did not deserve to be hunted, and I found my way out, with the help of something impossible, with the help of something wild, with the help of a creature that understood mercy better than I ever did. The Bigfoot saved me. Now I am passing that salvation forward to you, to anyone who reads this, to everyone who has ever lost themselves in darkness and wondered if there was a way back. There is, I promise you there is. And if a Bigfoot in the mountains of the Cascadian peaks can show mercy to its enemy, then surely we can show mercy to ourselves. To the parts of us that are afraid, to the parts of us that are angry, to the parts of us that want to hunt and destroy and take revenge for the wounds we carry. Those parts deserve mercy too. They deserve understanding. They deserve the chance to heal, and they will heal if we let them, if we stop feeding them hatred and start feeding them truth. The truth that I learned in the mountains, the truth that I am sharing with you now, the truth that saved my life. May it save yours too, if you need it, whenever you need it, however long it takes. The truth will be waiting, like the Bigfoot in the forest, patient, eternal, ready to show you the way home. All you have to do is stop hunting. All you have to do is open your eyes. All you have to do is let go of the story you have been telling yourself and see what is really there. I did. Finally, after 3 years, I did. And what I saw changed everything. The Bigfoot standing in the doorway of my destroyed shelter, the cave where I woke up injured but alive. The grave in the clearing, marked with stones and flowers and the claws of a bear. The truth of what really happened to my cousin. The truth of who I had become. The truth of what I almost did. All of it. Real, undeniable, transformative. That is the power of truth. That is the gift of the wilderness. That is the lesson of the Bigfoot. I learned it. You know it now. And together perhaps we can pass it on, one story at a time, one truth at a time, one act of unexpected mercy at a time, until the whole world understands what I understand now, what the Bigfoot taught me in the mountains, in the storm, in the cave where I woke up, changed, forever, irreversibly, gratefully changed. This is the end of my story, but it is also a beginning for you, for anyone who reads these words, for everyone who carries their own burden of hatred and grief and unresolved pain. There is a way forward. There is a path to healing. There is mercy waiting in the most unexpected places. You just have to be willing to receive it. That is all. That is everything. Be willing, and the rest will follow. I promise you, the rest will follow. There are days when I still struggle with what happened. Days when the memories come flooding back with such intensity that I have to sit down and breathe through them. But the difference now is that the memories do not destroy me. They wash over me like waves, powerful but not permanent. That is what healing looks like. Not the absence of pain, but the ability to carry it without being crushed. My therapist says I have made remarkable progress. She does not know the full story, of course. What I have told her is that I had an experience in the mountains that changed my perspective, that I found closure in an unexpected way. She is right, though she does not know how right. The Bigfoot took me to rock bottom, beat me unconscious, dragged me to a cave, and forced me to confront the truth. It was brutal and terrifying, and also somehow the most compassionate thing anyone has ever done for me. I think about compassion a lot these days. The Bigfoot could have killed me so easily, but it chose differently. It chose to carry me to shelter, to watch over me, to show me the truth. It chose mercy when violence would have been easier and perhaps more justified. I had tried to kill it, fired bullets at it and its family, invaded its territory with hatred, and still it saved me. That is the part of the story I return to most often, the inexplicable grace of a creature I had tried to destroy. The way it looked at Leo's photo and nodded, the mournful sound it made, the careful way it handled the fragile piece of paper. I have read everything I can find about Bigfoot since then, not to hunt them, but to understand them. Some accounts describe aggressive encounters. Others describe something closer to what I experienced. Curiosity, observation, a watchful presence. I believe both types of accounts are true. Bigfoots, like humans, are individuals. Some are aggressive, some are curious, some fear humans and respond with violence. Others have learned something different, something about coexistence. The one I encountered had learned mercy. Whatever the source, that mercy saved my life and changed everything I thought I knew about the world. I do not tell people about the Bigfoot because I do not want to prove its existence. My motivation then was revenge, not understanding. Now I want the opposite. I want the Bigfoot to remain hidden, protected by the same mystery that has kept its kind safe for centuries. We need those mysteries. We need to know that there are things beyond our understanding, creatures that exist outside the bounds of our scientific certainty, not because mystery is superior to knowledge, but because mystery keeps us humble. It reminds us that we are not the masters of everything, that the world is bigger and stranger and more wonderful than we can imagine. The Bigfoot is part of that wonder, a living, breathing reminder that nature has depths we have not plumbed. A creature that has watched us for thousands of years, has seen our civilizations rise and fall, has learned to hide from our ever-expanding reach. It deserves to continue hiding. It deserves to remain free and wild and unknown. That is why I keep my photos private. The Bigfoot earned its privacy when it buried Leo with such care, when it spared my life despite every reason not to, when it showed me the truth and asked nothing in return. I owe it secrecy as much as I owe it my life. Sometimes I dream of returning to that clearing, of hiking back to Leo's grave and sitting there for a while. I know where it is, but I never go. Something holds me back. I think it would feel like trespassing now, like violating a sacred space that was shown to me once but is not meant for repeated visits. The Bigfoot led me there to show me the truth, not to give me a place to pilgrimage. Leo is at peace in that clearing. Disturbing that peace, even with good intentions, feels wrong, like betraying the trust that was placed in me. So, I remember instead. I hold the image of that place in my mind, the cairn of stones and the scattered belongings and the dead flowers. I hold the image of the Bigfoot, pointing toward the grave, its posture solemn. I hold the image of the bear claws. Those images are enough. They have to be, because some places are not meant to be visited. Some truths are meant to be carried, not shared. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. I have made peace with that. Made peace with knowing something I cannot prove, with carrying a truth that most people would dismiss as fantasy. The peace took time to find, but it is solid now. Unshakable. Built on the foundation of what I saw with my own eyes and what I learned about myself. The hatred is gone, completely gone. I cannot find even a trace of it. I expected it to linger, but it has not. The Bigfoot took it from me along with my misconceptions, leaving behind something cleaner and lighter. In its place is gratitude. Gratitude for Leo's friendship, gratitude for his family's closure, gratitude for my own survival, and gratitude for the Bigfoot. The creature I once hated, the impossible animal that turned out to be more human than I was. I hope it knows. I hope some part of it understands that the man who came into its territory with murder in his heart left with something different, respect, awe, a kind of love even. I loved what the Bigfoot showed me. I loved what it taught me. I loved the mercy it offered. And I love knowing that somewhere in the deep forests, it is still out there, still living, still watching, still keeping the secrets that need to be kept. That is enough for me now. Knowing is enough. I do not need to prove it to anyone else. The truth lives in me, and that is where it belongs. The wilderness keeps its secrets, and I have become one of the keepers of those secrets, a guardian of the truth, holding it close and sharing it carefully, only with those who might understand. You might understand. You have read this far. You have followed me through the hatred and the obsession, through the blizzard and the cave, through the grave and the transformation. If you have come this far, perhaps you are one of the ones who can hold this truth responsibly. I trust you to do so, to take what I have shared and carry it well. To remember that the Bigfoot is not a monster, that the wilderness is not our enemy, that mercy can come from the most unexpected places, to use this knowledge for good. And if you ever find yourself in the deep forests, remember to go with respect, with humility, with the understanding that you are a guest in someone else's home, because you are not alone out there. You never were. And the things that watch from the shadows are not the things you should fear. The real danger, as I learned, is the story you tell yourself about what is waiting in the darkness. Change that story, and everything changes. Even the monsters become something else. Even the hunter becomes the one being taught. Even the hatred becomes peace. That is the lesson of the Bigfoot. That is the truth of the mountains. And that is the gift I am passing on to you, as it was passed on to me. May you use it well. May you find your own truth. May you walk in peace, in the wilderness and everywhere else. And may you never forget that the world is bigger and stranger and more merciful than we can imagine. The Bigfoot taught me that. Now I have taught you. The rest of the journey is yours. Go well, be at peace. And remember, always remember, the things we fear might not be the things we should fear. The monsters might not be monsters at all. And the truth, when we finally find it, might set us free, as it set me free, as it can set anyone free who is brave enough to seek it and honest enough to accept it. No matter what form it takes, no matter how impossible it seems, no matter how much it changes everything we thought we knew. That is the nature of truth. That is the power of mercy. That is the lesson of the wilderness. I learned it. You know it now. And together, perhaps, we can pass it on, one story at a time, one truth at a time, one act of unexpected mercy at a time, until the whole world understands. What I understand now, what the Bigfoot taught me, in the mountains, in the storm, in the cave where I woke up changed, forever, irreversibly, gratefully changed. This is the end of my story, but it is also a beginning. For you, for anyone who reads these words, for everyone who carries their own burden of hatred and grief and unresolved pain. There is a way forward. There is a path to healing. There is mercy waiting in the most unexpected places. You just have to be willing to receive it. That is all. That is everything. Be willing, and the rest will follow. I promise you, the rest will follow.